As I have told you before also, that this neoclassical age is the age of reason, it is the age of sensibility. It does not focus on emotion, it focuses on the thinking. So we see a huge round of writings coming up, which were lacking in previous ages. Only one type of writing would be dominant there. Okay, as in case of Elizabethan age, there you will find only drama or poetry. Okay, these two things. But when we are developing, what we can see, and especially because it is the age of learning, it is the age of thinking, it is the age of reason, what we will see, or we can see, that there is this several development in the way that it is expanding in several other spheres which we have not seen before. Okay, as I have told you on the development of novel in the previous class, what we see there is this new form of new genre of writing coming out. Okay, today what we saw the satires coming out, or the poems. Okay, so they are taking the satirical form, right? Similarly, another type of writing which is present or which is developing over here is the essays. Okay, the periodical essays, which were also gaining very importance or important share, to say, in the literary sphere. Okay, and the 18th century essayist or the prose writers, to say, by prose I mean non-fictional prose. Okay, novel is also prose, but it is fictional. As I have told you before also, it has characters and everything. Essays may have characters in personal essays, which will be more in the romantic age, that is of Charles Lamb, William Hazlitt, De Quincey. More personal essays you will see in Dream Children by Charles Lamb, but we will be focusing on non-fictional essays. Okay, non-fictional, where what we see that this essays deals with certain things which actually focus on a specific topic. Okay, and these essays were published in periodical way. Okay, a major literary invention which is less important than novel, but was more popular after its beginning in the 18th century, was the essay. Okay, this literary invention, which was less popular, less important, to say, it was less important, but it was more popular. Okay, during the 18th century, especially in the beginning, it was the essay. Okay, the essay was finally established in the English as an independent literary form in the 18th century, and its general acceptance owed to Steele and Addison. Okay, so who was Joseph Addison and Richard Steele. Okay, and obviously to their papers, that is the Tatler, Tatler, and the Spectator. Clear? As I have told you previously in previous class only, that the essays or the writings were, the papers were published, the periodical publishing was done. Sometimes it was weekly, sometimes it was bi-weekly, sometimes it was tri-weekly, or sometimes it was monthly. Okay, so the Tatler was a tri-weekly paper which Richard Steele wrote to overcome his financial difficulties. After the Tatler's discontinuance, Steele and Addison launched the Spectator. Okay, which took for its theme the doings of men. Okay, their thoughts, books, fashion, love and humor. So everything which consisted of several emotion, the thoughts, the things that are happening in the world, books, those got place in the Spectator. Okay, and they and the Spectator become more famous, more popular than the Tatler. Clear? Steele and Addison were followed by Dr. Johnson in the Rambler. The Rambler is also a paper which was bi-weekly. Okay, the Rambler's essays are generally serious, it was reflecting, and it was also witty. Okay, so every essay had its own kind, had its own characteristics. Okay, Johnson's friend Oliver Goldsmith, if you might know him for She Stoops to Conquer, the anti-sentimental comedy, also wrote essays in magazine The Ledger, Ledger, okay, which were later published as The Citizen of the World. Daniel Defoe also did much to establish the English journalism in his paper, The Review. Okay, the paper's name was The Review. He set the 18th century upon the task of composing the periodical essay. Okay, quite a few essays were published by some other writers as Tobias Smollett, and also John Newbery, such as the British Magazine and the BEE. Okay, several other were published. But what we see here is that why this importance? This importance is mainly because the characteristics of the age that is present, যে এজটা রয়েছে সেটার ক্যারেক্টারিস্টিক্সের জন্য। and what is that? This is the age of learning, this is the age of reason. People know how to read, the literacy rate is high, people are reading and they want things because of the demand, because of the society's demand. These things are developing. Obviously, from the point of view of the production and consumption, you will see that if there is no demand, there is no supply. Okay, so you need to have demand for the supplying. Clear? Similarly, other prose writers who were present, namely Edmund Burke, EDMUND, Burke, BURKE. So Edmund Burke is one of the writers who preeminently the golden method orator. Okay, his great works are the masterpieces of forensic art. Three of his speeches mainly were on American taxation, number one, on consolation with colonies, and the third one is on the impeachment of Warren Hastings. All these three are very famous. Okay, you can look into this. Outside the speeches, that especially in case of speeches that they were given in several sectors, several places, those speeches were actually published as essays. Okay, সব সময় যে এসে লিখেই যে পাবলিশ হবে সেটা না। There are cases where there is description, not just description, the speeches that are given, those speeches are actually published in the form of essays. Okay, also outside the speeches you will see there are philosophical writings which include vindication of natural society and ideas of sublime and the beautiful, reflection on the revolution in France. What we see here is that Burke's style is oratorial. As he was mainly a speaker, his style of writing any essay or publishing any essay is oratorial. He is a great rhetorician. His writings are rich in passion and splendor. His prose is full of color and it captures ornate style of the Elizabethan and the Carolean prose. Okay, another writer who is Edward Gibbon, he was a prose writer of this period. He was a great historian. Okay, his greatest work is The Decline and the Fall of the Roman Emperor. This is the name of the work, and it is a classic. His work is an organic whole with the details properly subordinated to the main structure. His prose style is remarkable in its clarity. There is fullness, there is rhythm in his writing. It lacks a sense and variety, okay, and thus tends to be a monotonous one, okay, as history is actually, okay, সেটা monotonous হয়েই যায়. সেরকমই হচ্ছে এডওয়ার্ড গিবনের রাইটিংসেও সেই জিনিসটা দেখা গেছে যে what we see there is this kind of what you say, there is a same thing is being repeated and in a way processed. Okay, Adam Smith is a pioneer of economics. See the differences in writing. Okay, one is an orator, one is historian, one is dealing with economics. So variety of learning is getting expressed in these periodical essays, or several essayists are coming around who are specializing in their own fields. They are describing those things in their writings. Okay, and what is happening? Because of their writings, the people who are reading this, they are gaining vast knowledge from the writers who are specialized in that. Okay, he is the author of the famous book The Wealth of the Nations. The book's title is The Wealth of the Nations. Its literary interest lies in the plain business life. Okay, business life prose, economic theories are caused. So why this is important? This is important in the sense that you cannot deal with just economy alone. Okay, everything is important in the context that every part of the society is important. Another writing that we see over here is that of James Boswell. Boswell is a famous biographer, and he is famous for his book on the life of Samuel Johnson. Okay, Dr. Samuel Johnson, the life of Samuel Johnson. His writings, he is a biographer. Okay, his writings illustrates his vividness, his variety. His writing is clear, limpid, and his vivacious style makes the book very famous. And what we find here is that this is important to note that this age is bringing in several writers from several fields to this age. They are given scope who would not have got the scope that they are getting in the early periods because of several factors, because of the rise of the middle class. There is this literacy, there is this new economy that is coming in and because of this economy there is literacy, because of this economy there is this habit of new learning and several other things. Another interesting fact, another interesting writer is Dr. Johnson. I have dealt with Dr. Johnson before also. Dr. Johnson is mainly famous for his prose writings. He is a prose writer. But another thing that is important for him is that he is the author of the Dictionary of English Language. Okay, so his contribution lies there also, and that is why I said so much about Samuel Johnson, okay, in previous lectures. Similarly, he is also the author of Lives of Poets, as he is the editor of Shakespeare also. In the Dictionary of English Language, Johnson marks an epoch in history of English because it deals with the language's history that we get to know from him. He gives us variety of information about it. Okay, it is a new kind of challenge to the world. It filled the nation with pride in a language that was developing at that moment also. Okay, even when we for Shakespeare scholars or Shakespeare researchers, not scholars. What we see here is that you cannot do away without Johnson. Okay, Johnson's services to Shakespeare was immense. Okay, his preface to his edition of Shakespeare is the most masterly piece of literary criticism. Okay, his writings gave a new way of looking into things. Lives of the Poet, as I mentioned, is his famous work and shows him as a critic of literature. The periodical papers, the Rambler, which appears twice a week, are full of deep thought and observation, are founded upon his own experiences of life. But what we find here is that they lack the eloquence of the Spectator, okay, the paper. So let's not get into the tussle between Spectator and the Rambler. What we find here is that both have their own ways of dealing with it. Both have their own ways of presenting new forms of knowledge that is happening, that is coming in the forefront. Okay, not just Spectator and Rambler, which were the most popular ones, but several other writings which were there. They actually showcase the knowledge that was prevalent in those times. Okay, so this is almost a gist, a summary, a clear outlook of the prose writings, non-fictional periodical essays of the 18th century. I hope you have understood. Okay, let's end it here.